Well, hi everybody. As David mentioned, thank you so much, and I felt the same way about you, my friend. So I feel really grateful to know you, and also really grateful for the opportunity that you're presenting the community to connect in this way. I think it's a really beautiful thing, especially to promote nonprofits within the community. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. I was born in South Carolina. And so we're going to do a nice, big South Carolinian hello. And this goes a little like this. I say, hey, y'all. Nice and slow, like I'm just seeing you at the 7-Eleven. And you say to me, well, bless your heart. You ready? Let's do a little South Carolinian today. Okay. Well, hey, y'all.
Bless your heart.
Wow, that's good. You guys must have spent some time in the South. That was pretty good. June is Men's Mental Health Month. And because I have a personal experience with men's mental health, I thought, how can I tie this into the audience that we're speaking to? And so I thought it's really important to speak about building a home that can elevate our mental health and what that looks like for the industry that we're speaking to today, and what a huge part interior designers and architects and construction plays in contributing to the elevation of our mental health. Opportunity to grow up in the military, and with the military I moved all over the world. And the advantage of living all over the world is that you get to experience a lot of things. And I got to move to Belgium for the last half of my senior year. And this was the coolest experience, made even cooler by the fact that I was 18, and that meant that I could qualify for the international driver's license. So exciting. Right? I wanted to be Carrie, international driver, right? And so I studied for a month to take this test, to learn over 100+ international traffic signs so that I could be that international driver. And I aced that test, right? I knew going into it that I knew everything I needed to know. Now you'll see on my screen that there's some warning signs here. That should indicate to you that I did not know everything I needed to know. So I got into the car with my Flemish driving instructor the next day, and we drove down the cobblestone streets 5 or 6 miles. And as I was feeling pretty confident about myself, I noticed something ahead of me. Something I had never seen before. A true traffic anomaly. And ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the roundabout. How many of you have driven in a roundabout in Europe? Right? Like, the speed with which those cars circle that roundabout is crazy. And so here I am, a brand new driver in America, let alone coming to a foreign country to try to get a license. And I am panicking at this moment. I'm seeing this roundabout coming, and I am like, what is going on? I don't know how to do this, and I can feel the stress coming, and the cars are coming, and my Flemish driver instructor speaking Flemish to me. And this is just a moment where I was not operating at my finest. And all of those signs that I had studied did nothing for me, because I was so distracted with what was going on right in that roundabout that when I looked up to the corner to see the yield sign, I didn't digest yield. And I pulled right into that roundabout and came within a few inches of a life-changing collision. Now, when people quit swearing at me in foreign languages and hand gestures stopped and yelling at me and horn stopped honking, I turned to look at my instructor, who simply looked at me as if this was not the first time at the roundabout rodeo with an American driver, and said, go. Like, what are you waiting for? And so I went. And suffice it to say, I had to take that test again. But why I share this with you in relation to mental health is because navigating that roundabout felt a lot like navigating the mental health journey of an unaddressed mental health challenge. I had been married for 23 years, and I spent the first half of my marriage with my spouse, who was displaying underlying apathy. And I was slightly concerned, and as we do, busy in married life, we ask, how are you? Is everything okay? Something seems off. And you say, as the man, fine, everything's fine. And we move on down the road, right? By the time that this low-level apathy had become a blaring jet engine, we were already in a mental health roundabout. And the signs and symptoms of this mental health roundabout looked a lot like isolation, apathy, indifference, withdrawal, loneliness, disinterest in doing things with family and friends that used to bring joy, and the list goes on and on. So as I tried to navigate this mental health roundabout with my spouse, I was looking for answers to what was going on. And human mind, as you know, when we don't have information, what do?
Make it up.
We make it up. We create the story because we have to have a safe way to navigate what feels dangerous, right? What we don't understand. And so my questions initially looked like this. What's going on? What are you doing? Is everything okay? Do we need to see a doctor, right? Almost very invasive questions meant from a really positive place. And when those questions were met with silence, I started to have to create a different story. Maybe it's me 3 years into this mental health journey. Maybe we're just not in a healthy relationship. Maybe it's just me. And when those concerns sent a signal to him to make him feel more as if he was disappointing his family, which means further withdrawal, right? Further depression, further anxiety. And so I was in a real conundrum in this mental health roundabout. I needed some information so that I could direct this journey in the car of silence. And so I went to Dr. Google. Who's been to Dr. Google? Right? Everybody's been to Dr. Google. They have all the answers. And I was voraciously consuming information on every single mental health challenge that I could find. And as I was doing this, I also came to the understanding that my children were also experiencing this with us. That I was not the only passenger in this car of silence in this mental health roundabout. And so I think oftentimes we want to shield our children from conversations that are hard. And Cynthia talked on that a little bit earlier about Supriya. We have to have conversations in our homes. It is the first point of community that we have access to and influence to. And so I started to bring my kids into the conversation. We watched videos together. We discussed what mental health was. What were the signs and symptoms? How can we all rally around our dad, right, to help him? And when I reached out with education and it was still met with silence, I knew that I was soon going to be in a secondhand depression, which is not a clinical term. I coined it because it fit very well with what I was experiencing. And I knew that I had to make a different choice. We were 7 years into this journey. And something that happens along the way when you're feeling an unaddressed mental health journey is that you are uninterested in doing anything, including working. And so I found myself $300 away from a free fall in a dark space, consistently closed blinds, curtains, everything is dark, and I was suffocating. I needed light. And I walked into this bedroom and I said to my spouse, we're $300 away from hitting the financial floor. Is there any opportunity that you might be going back to work? And he said, no, you'll figure out something. And so I did. I moved out of that very dark space, which was consuming my mind, my emotions, my heart. I knew that I had been straddling the line between empathy and enablement for a really long time, and it was time to make a change. And I moved into the guest bedroom, which was light and bright, and I filled it with art, and I tried to fill it with plants, anything that was aesthetically pleasing, because I needed to come out of that secondhand depression to take care of my kids. And what followed was a pursuit of full-time work after not being in the workforce for 16 years. And that put me on a journey to be on welfare for a little while. And that brought me right here to this stage today, that journey. And so I share this with you, not because I want you to feel badly for the situation, not because I want to have the empathy, although we all want to have some empathy. I share this with you as a cautionary tale because mental health, if unaddressed, can cause severe outcomes. Addictions, alcoholism, right, depression, pornography addiction, violence, all kinds of outcomes. And losing your family is one of them. And so I want to share that with you in relation to our homes, building our homes that can be resilient for mental health experiences. And David, when you build a home, What is the emotion, as Kent says, what is the emotion that you feel when you take on a new client?
Excitement?
Yeah. What are you thinking about? Who's going to fill that home?
Yeah, I'm excited for just the joy that's going to be felt because of the end result and the process of building it.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah. When I enter a home, looking as a home buyer, I think, oh my gosh, I can have my Christmas tree here. I can have my Easter parties here. My kids can have all their friends come over, right? I'm thinking of all the memories and all the enjoyment that I'm going to have in my home. And design is part of that experience, right? And so when we're talking about creating safe spaces where we can address mental health challenges, any challenges, including the ups, right, with the downs, design is a foundational key in what that looks like. And as I experienced, being in that dark space was really suffocating and hard to pull out and heal from, and I had to move to where there was light. So I want to direct you to some statistics with you, is that we're not only building homes these days for individuals, we're building generational living spaces, right? So when we're talking about mental health, I want you to keep this in mind, that what we're talking about is 2.5 million Americans who are the sandwich generation, which are caregiving between adults that are 75, parents, and children, maybe 10. That's a huge responsibility in that space, and it's a huge burden to take on, if you will, when you're looking at buying a house, right? And so these individuals, which would be my generation, we're experiencing an increase on our time, our financial strain, and that is reflecting in our mental health. So we're building homes for multi-generations of challenges, right? Joy as well, but challenges as well. So let's look at some general statistics with regard to mental health. 57.8 million adults live with a mental illness. That's 1 in 5. 20% of people 65 and older, which would be 8 million, are experiencing mental health challenges right now. 65 and older. And then 42% of Gen Z are struggling with mental health challenges. Why are these numbers important? Let's look at our home buying demographic. Anyways, 12% purchase a multi-generational home to care for aging parents or their children. Now, there's another statistic that says single women are actually outbuying men right now in terms of home ownership, which is pretty amazing. 4% of Gen Z are homeowners, but they are experiencing job insecurity, leading to an increase of financial fear, anxiety, and depression. 31% of young adults, 25 to 29, are living with multi-generational households to save money, and they are also experiencing anxiety and depression. So, what do we take from this? How are we doing as a society, mental health? $31 billion lost in productivity because of mental health challenges to companies throughout the US. Job insecurity and home stress, according to the National Mental Health Institute, these 3 things are what they have found relevant to be in their studies. Job insecurity and home stress were significantly and independently associated with elevated depression and anxiety symptoms. The dual effect of psychological factors from work and home on working populations, this is the National Institute of Mental Health, should be considered in intervention projects. Are our communities intervention projects? Can they be? So let's move on to how to build a resilient home for all seasons. I love this term, architectural therapy. Has anyone heard that before? Me neither. Architectural therapy. The art of creating meaningful spaces through architecture and design is an intense supportive pathway for the treatment of mental well-being. And this fabulous doctor, Roger Ulrich, who was a researcher, took under his portfolio a mental health study to say, how does architecture impact people's well-being, right? And what he found was that there was an increase in health for patients, families, and professional environments when they were aesthetically pleasing. What does aesthetically pleasing look like to you? Natural lighting.
Art.
Yeah, art. Open floor plans. Private and open community spaces. Nature views. We do that really well in Utah. We provide a lot of opportunity to experience nature, and I love that. So let's look at that. VR studies reflecting all therapeutic sensory elements show 59.7% decrease in depression severity over 6 weeks compared to the control group, which is on medication, which took 8 weeks to start kicking in. So our environments really do make a difference in our mental health. Being able to be in nature and see this natural light and the beauty of being in light spaces, it really makes an impact. And then healthy design at home and work reflects an increase in collaborative work by 9%. Productivity increases by 16%. We have to provide opportunities across all platforms within our communities for mental health to start being nurtured. I have brought to you kind of a marrying of my personal experiences and an industry standards for how mental health can be impacted by our building communities, by our designers and our interior magic makers. And what I want for you to do today is learn a little bit more about mental health in general, but also educate yourself on how you can make your home a more environmentally friendly place, how you can elevate your own mental health, and for your staff, and for your team, right? Communicate with each other. Be open and transparent, not just about your mental health, but about everything that you're feeling. Share it with someone. This is how we build healthy resilience, is that we're able to communicate. And finally, take action. If you feel that you are experiencing something that feels at all like a mental health condition, take action on it. Do something about it. See someone. Get some medication. Go outside and take a walk. Do something to elevate your own mental health. Beyond, I wrote this just for you, Taylor. The Beyond Building Project. Beyond what we talk about here is where the light is. What we do with ourselves, how we position ourselves in the world. That's where the light is. And building resilience as a community is where connections are formed. And I'm so very grateful to have been able to share that with you. Thank you so much, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.